Hello, Ray. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, how long have you been with Canopy Connect now?
Almost 4 years.
Okay. Very rewarding work, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been fun watching this thing grow. We did for a tech company. Like when I joined, we were 12 or 13 people, and now we're at 40. I
Okay.
think. And went from like 2,000 agents using our product to 20,000 now.
Nice.
So it's pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty
And
good.
so,
growth.
what do you think is what's the catalyst behind that? What's really driving to go, 10 times? Because basically you've grown 10 times. So
Yeah.
what's driving?
I think part of it is just there's a need that is resonating with everyone, and then a shameless plug for good marketing, I guess. We're out there because we used to be around and no one knew who we were.
Right.
I went to the first our first conference that I went to was like IAOA 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew who we were. Like we had a booth, and my opening question was like, hey, have you heard about Canopy Connect? And everyone was like, no idea. Right. And then we go through the whole spiel. I mean, just a year later, I went to the same conference. Have you heard about Canopy Connect? Yeah, I seem to see you guys everywhere. So-and-so's using it.
Gotcha.
And so there's been a lot of that. Just like insurance, just like any sales, like word of mouth spreads. If you're doing
good stuff,
product, and it's not for everyone. Like it's for most people. We want it to be for everyone. Right. But certain agencies don't have the right mindset to.
Well, they don't have the right processes, the right workflow, the right
process is a huge part of it. And I'm, we're not immune to like cancellations and people being like, well, I tried it and no one likes it. And
gotcha.
But if it's if it's the right fit and you have the right process, because it's a process change, right? It's change management and all that stuff. And some people are just shiny object chasers. Others are, hey, this looks cool. I think it's a magic silver bullet that's going to fix everything. And I can just buy it. And it's not, and that you've been in this game long enough.
Right. That's like when you and I were talking, where were we in Vegas?
Yeah, I think it was Vegas.
Yeah, we were in Vegas and we were talking about all the different stuff. And even then I had agencies using it, but I wasn't sold on it, because I was like, okay, why can't I just get another person to do this? Why do I have to have this? Why do I have to have that? This doesn't. But then once I actually started utilizing it and understanding it, and I was like, boom, okay, I get it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. It was a great conversation. We'll pick it up later. Mm-hmm. Hey, guys, I appreciate you being here. This is Dr. Billy Williams with Inspire a Nation Business Mentoring, the Data Supercenter, AI, CRM, and, of course, Williams Family Insurance and Investment Group. So today is all insurance. You guys know that I do first and third are all AI, CRM, workflows, all that kind of stuff. The second and fourth Wednesday of the month is all insurance and how we take all that other stuff we've learned and apply it to insurance. So today I want to talk about quoting. Okay, let me break insurance down into three quadrants. Okay, three quadrants. That doesn't sound right. Into four quadrants. Okay, let me break insurance down into four quadrants. First quadrant is actually getting the lead. So that's your lead generation. That's your lead follow-up. That's your quoting, and that's your sales. That's the first quad. The second quad is now the customer. That's your new customer onboarding. That's your endorsement process. That's your dealing with claims, special events like birthdays, things like that. The third quadrant, which is where my mind was on that time, the third quadrant is where we talk about the actual processes in the agency, the technology, the workflows, the checklists, the pipelines, all those different things that deal with that. And then the fourth quadrant is staffing and everything that goes with staffing, pay, commissions, employee handbook, KPIs, all that. So if I break the agency into four quadrants, and I say, how am I going to fix the agency? I go a quadrant at a time. Okay. I don't try to fix everything at one time. I go one quadrant at one time. And the quadrant that we're talking about today is quadrant 1, which is lead generation, making sure we understand our follow-ups, understand our quoting, understand everything. The quoting is the biggest bottleneck in an agency. I'm going to tell you, everyone thinks it's lead generation, but in reality, what I see is I can generate all the leads in the world and they just get stuck on my desk. I go right now and I talk to an agent and they're like, we're so busy. We're so busy. What are you busy doing? Oh, I got about 10 quotes on my desk that I need to get out. You run into that, Ray, all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I wanted to make sure we're talking about this. Now, when it comes to quoting, I break things down into phases. I'm no military guy, so everything has to have an acronym and a phase and a section and a quadrant and all that kind of stuff. So I break it down into 6 phases when we talk about So the 6-phase quoting, guys, is what I use. Phase 1 is acquire the right leads. Phase 2, communicate with the right message. Phase 3, get permission before you quote. Phase 4, gather clean data. Phase 5, automate the follow-up process. Don't just sit there and manually make phone calls all day and think you followed up. And then stage 6, where AI can help throughout all of this process. Okay. So I want to first introduce my guest. And what I was saying was, when I bring on a guest, I don't do paid sponsorship guest. I don't, hey man, I'll put you in front of my audience I don't do that. I bring on the folks that I feel like are going to best benefit the audience, best benefit the industry, best benefit my message, what I want to get out. So Ray is not here because Ray paid to be here. I reached out to him on social media, on LinkedIn, and said, Ray, would you come on and tell us about Canopy Connect? So, Ray, with that, take it away, big guy. Tell us all about what Canopy Connect is, and then, we're going to have a full demo, but at least tell us about you and what you guys do.
Sure. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Ray Huang. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Canopy Connect. Billy was nice enough to reach out to me I think you sent your message at like 2 a.m. Your message was
that's when I work.
That's your peak time. I get it. I'm largely the same way.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been with Canopy Connect for 4 years. Watched this thing grow from a couple thousand agents to now over 20,000 agents using it. Awesome. We've got your mom and pop, single person shops, 4-person shops, and we've got giant mega agencies with 1,500 offices nationwide using it. So,
and when you say using, what does using it?
Using Canopy Connect,
what does that mean?
Which is an insurance intake platform. Okay, which is all to say it's making it really easy for your prospects to share their insurance information with you. Whether we've got a few sort of waterfall ways of being able to get that information. What we're kind of founded on, our core technology, is this consumer connected insurance data. So it's the consumer is able to go through our platform, log in with their carrier credentials, and we pull in all that insurance data down from the carrier portal, their carrier portal, and share it with you. So they're authorizing that share. The same way you would do when you connect your bank account with Plaid or PayPal or anything like that, right? You plug in those credentials, and now you got these two systems that are connected, and we can pull all that information in, all with the consumer's permission. We also have the ability, like, hey, maybe they don't want to do that. They don't know the logins. That stuff happens. We make it easy to like reset your password. You can also, if they've got their deck page available, and then we know deck pages can be difficult to find. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people come to us is like, dude, I logged into the carrier and I still don't know where to find it, right? Or you end up with an ID card or whatever. So Canopy Connect inherently solves that. You can also, if you have the deck page, upload it to our system. And our system has seen somewhere around 4 million policies come through every time when we connect to the insurance carrier. We're also pulling down deck pages as well. I forgot to mention that. So we've seen literally 4 million deck pages, compared that to actual policy data that comes from the system. So we know what everything looks like, how data is structured. We know that this is what a State Farm deck page looks like when there's just a home, or when there's a home and 2 auto, when it's, or, and like Geico doesn't actually write home, so they kind of subcontract to Stillwater or something else. All those deck pages are kind of structured a little bit differently. So we've seen all of those come through, so we can do it really accurately. If you ever try to throw in a deck page into your chat GPTs or whatever and be like, hey, can you parse this and get this information? It's going to pull some your core basic information, but when it goes and hits that like coverage table, it doesn't know what to do with that. Like, as smart as it is, and if it doesn't have the context of what it's doing, which if you just blindly upload a deck page to it, it doesn't know what it's doing, right? It doesn't know what pieces of data is important, which ones go this way, which one goes that way. Mm-hmm. We've seen so many, we've been able to train our models on it to be able to parse that very accurately. And then we got forms and all that stuff that you can also do as well. But it's kind of just one platform that you can use to intake information however it wants to be shared.
Perfect. Well, you're going to give us a demo.
Yes, sir.
Later, so that's perfect. All right, let me go ahead and get into the training, get these guys, get them going. All right, and if you hear any problems or see any problems, let me know. Okay.
Well, I will.
So what's the real problem when we talk about the bottleneck of quoting? The real problem is there's too many quotes started, but there's not enough of them that's finished. The data gathering takes way too long. The follow-up is inconsistent. I'm waiting on Mr. Jenkins, but I need to call Mr. Jenkins Thursday, but I got busy and I didn't follow up and I didn't do this. And so then the producers are sitting around waiting on information and everything just kind of bottlenecks. But we know that you can fix that if you have consistency in processes. I wrote this article a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, something. And I think, Ray, you commented on it or liked it or something. And it said, process is the real winner and AI is the sidekick. Process is the hero. AI is the sidekick. And I think a lot of people are confusing that. They go out and they buy these shiny objects, like you said earlier, Ray. They go out and they buy the latest this and the latest that. And oh my God, they go to these conferences and there's 75 vendors there selling, some feature or some function of Chat GPT, and they personalized it and honed it down to one little step or one little feature. And, I need that. No, you need a process. Okay, that's what you need. You need a process. And then all this other stuff will fit maybe somewhere in your process. So with that being said, when we break things down into phases, I'm going to go with phase 1 first, which is acquire the right lead. So a lot of the problem in your agencies with bottleneck quotes is because you're quoting people who really have no interest. They didn't pre-qualify. They shouldn't even be in your quoting system. So you didn't get the right lead. And so we're going to break the lead down very succinctly for you. Every prospect in an insurance agency falls into one of 6 categories. Your 6 best prospects. Your current customers are your best prospect. Referral partner referrals. Your other businesses that are sending you referrals. Those are your best prospects. People who are actively seeking information about your product or service. They're out on Facebook. They're out on YouTube. They're watching a video. They're watching a webinar. They're doing all that. Those people are actively seeking information about your product or service. Those are a great prospect. Former customers. They trusted you before. Who knows what happened? Who knows why they left? But former customers are great prospects. Quoted, not sold. They gave you enough information to generate a quote. They gave you enough interest to let them know they raised their hand. Those are great prospects. And then people with a possible upcoming need. Maybe they moved into an area. Maybe they relocated from wherever. They got a new job. There's a new baby in the house. They just got married. They just got divorced. There's some change in their life. Those are your 6 best prospects. You just throwing crap against the wall and hoping that someone responds. That's what's killing you guys. So think about your 6 best prospects, current customers, referral partners, people actively seeking information, former customers, quoted not sold, and upcoming need prospects. If you just built campaigns around those 6, you'll be amazed how much more effective your lead generation would be. Okay. That's phase 1. Now let's talk about phase 2. You still have to communicate with those people. And so we keep it very simple. We call it PETS V squared. What's PET? P is for phone. E is for email. T is for text messaging. S is for social direct message. V is for voicemail. And then personalized videos. The second V is personalized videos or quote videos, some of folks like to call them. But guess what? This shouldn't be random. This should be a workflow. That's why at the bottom left here, I say AI workflow. You want to use automated workflow. And I don't care what tool you use. I have the Data Supercenter, AI CRM. Phenomenal tool. AI is built in. It works amazing. But you know what? So does Agency Zoom. So does Insured Mind. So does EasyLinks. So does AMS 360. So does Elevate. So does everything out here. It works extremely well if you work it extremely well. But if you don't have a workflow, and a workflow, just keep it simple. A workflow means I'm going to communicate a specific message at a specific time on a specific interval. And in that message, I'm going to talk about a specific purpose. So that means if I'm setting up my current customers, I want to reach out to my current customers maybe every 60 days, those that have auto no home. Maybe they're not ready to buy, but I at least want to keep them on the radar saying, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to send you a voicemail. I'm going to send you a text message saying, hey, don't forget when the time comes up, your auto, your home, whatever, we're here for you. We want to service all your policies. Referral partners. You go out and you hunt down these referral partners and you get people that say, yeah, I'll send you business. I'll send you business. And then you never talk to them again. You don't email them. You don't text them. You don't call them. You don't stop by and visit. You don't do anything. You're just sitting there saying they don't send me business anymore. Why would they? You never talk to them. So that's why putting them on a schedule, an automated schedule. For us, our referral partners are every 2 weeks, we're going to touch you in some manner. So that means maybe you became my referral partner today and you and I had a phone conversation. 2 weeks from now, you're going to get an email just reminding you if you have anybody that needs to get a quote, make sure you send them to me. 2 weeks after that, you'll get a text message. 2 weeks after that, you'll get a DM from me. So I'm still touching you and I've automated that process. So making sure in phase 2 that you use your PETS V squared to automate the process. Okay. Phase 3, stop quoting without permission. This is such a time waster. Quotes are built for people who never asked for them. Never asked for them. You just found some information and decided, I'm going to go do a quote. So there's no clear next step for that customer. There's no commitment from them. There's nothing. So we have a rule in our agencies and in my partner agencies. No quote starts until one of these things happen. The contact responds to one of our outreach methods. So they have to either say, yes, I'm going to respond to the text, respond to the email, respond to something. So they have to respond. An appointment has to be booked. When we send out those emails and send all that, we actually have links in there to Canopy Connect, to an appointment calendar, to our rater. They have to take some kind of action that raises their hand and says, I'm interested. An intake form has to be completed. A policy data, something has to be entered. They got to reply back and say, yeah, I'm interested. If they don't raise their hand, we don't start a quote. Stop your people from just doing these ghost quotes because you're paying them for hourly production but it's really not producing anything. All right. And then, so that's phase 3. Now let's go to phase 4. This is why Ray is here. Data gathering is the biggest bottleneck in the business. Gathering proper data is the biggest bottleneck. So what are some of the roadblocks that we run into when we talk about gathering data? Missing declaration pages, incomplete driver or vehicle information, guessing at coverage limits. I don't know what they have, so I guess I'll just guess. Multiple follow-ups for basic data. So, nothing is more irritating than to watch somebody call and say, hey, let me ask you a question about your roof. Then they hang up and say, did you ask them about what kind of construction? Oh, yeah, let me call them back. Hey, what's your house made out of? Well, they didn't. Hey, do you still have that car that? So now you're calling a person 4, 5, 6 times. That's ridiculous. You don't even need that. Your goal should be decision-ready information. And this is where Canopy Connect comes in. This is why I reached out to them. Okay. So what do they do? And then I'll turn it over to Ray, let him do his thing. Consumer logs into a secure portal. Policy data and deck pages are retrieved. The agent receives verified information. It reduces back and forth. So you get faster quoting, cleaner data, higher accuracy. Is that about right, Ray? Did I say that right?
Yep, that's all correct, man.
Okay. Go ahead and take over, big guy. Do your thing.
All right. Well, thanks. And yeah, in the chat here, let me know how you're currently getting insurance information. I'm always curious. Are you using a form, getting on the phone, having them email you deck pages, all that stuff. Just let me know in the chat. I'm going to share my screen right. Here we go. Cool. We talk about process. I have a loose framework process. Obviously, everyone's a little different. But Billy touched on this, right? Quote request. Someone's raising their hand. There's a level of intent going on. And then we have a very separate and distinct step for intake, which we just talked about. This is step 4 in Billy's process. But it's get all the information. And then if you're the type of agency that's going to have an advisory call, they've got a meeting scheduled where you want to review all this stuff, you go into this meeting not still trying to tease out a whole bunch of information, maybe to get a little bit of color commentary on what's going on, but you're going in prepared, right? You're working off of accurate, correct data. Then you go off and you generate your quotes, present them, and finalize them. And there's obviously detail process that happens within all this stuff, but that's just so that there's a framework of how I'm looking at things here. So insurance intake specifically, right? It's that stage of the quoting process. You're trying to accurately, keyword, acquire the information you need so you can advise and quote the client. And there's a lot of ways to get an intake information. These are some of the traditional methods that a lot of you are probably using. Forms. A lot of people use intake forms. I've even had a guy I talked to a couple months ago says, I email a Word document to their clients and have them fill it out. Others, obviously, there's fancy online forms you can get. You can just use your standard web form. Challenge with this, it's going to take the prospect a minute, right? It's going to take them half an hour, probably, maybe 3 days, maybe forever. So there's a high level of abandonment. You're not really there to give them the guidance that they need to answer the questions as you expect. Sometimes you're not phrasing the questions correctly, or you're assuming that they know what things mean. But typically, it's not a great experience. And I'll say the biggest thing is this last bullet here, that it's not fact-based and it's unverified information, right? People are guessing at what their coverages are. They don't know if there's a separate wind and hail deductible that is, 2%, 4%, 5%? That matters. If you're doing, I call this the interrogation, whether you're doing this in person or you're doing it on the phone, More typically, it's a phone call. Now you're taking that same kind of 30 minutes for the prospect, but then it's also taking the agent's time of another 30 minutes. You can give them some guidance, but still it's like people think that they're out there, I had a great conversation with Billy and got all this information from him. And if you put yourself in their shoes, like, man, this damn insurance agent just asked me 55 questions back to back. Like, that's not building rapport. They're not going to remember you in a good way, right? And still you have all the challenges, right? They're guessing. Sometimes there's even this pressure of like, man, someone's asking and I feel stupid that I don't know the answer. So I'm just going to tell you what I think you want to hear. And some people do this with when you're getting a loan. Like, hey, best case scenario, this is how much I make. Until they get the documents and they go, you actually don't make this much. So same thing goes for your coverages and all that information. There's options out there for pre-fill. There's AI-powered pre-fill. There's your more traditional data places that you can pull this stuff from. I always say, like, where did that information come from? Where was it? When was it last updated? Was it this year? Was it last year? Was it 4 years ago? I don't know. Things change. But there's still a level of unreliability. Now,
Ray, let me jump in real quick also, because I'm an AI guy. So
I know.
But even when we drive people to our landing pages and to our funnels and all that kind of stuff, we're still hoping that they put in the correct information.
Yes.
So all you guys out there are like, well, my AI chatbot's going to go out and do all this for me. Yeah, we do that every single day. And again, probably 70 to 80% of that information, they're guessing. They're swagging. Yeah. They're taking a sophisticated, wild-ass guess. They don't know.
Yeah. So that, and it's basically just a guided form, right? When you're using your chatbot, they're kind of going through a script or a talk track to get the information. The person still needs to answer it. So it's all those same problems. If you're fortunate enough to have a deck page, they can send it to you. They can email it to you. They can take their iPhone 17 and take a 48 megapixel picture of everything, and somehow it still ends up blurry. But now they're your inbox is clogged up with all these files, which is not secure, and there's a whole other set of issues. But just like, man, go find that document that your carrier mailed to you 11 months ago, right? And go find that, or go log into your carrier and go figure out where it is in that crazy portal. Oh, by the way, there's 1,000 different portals, so you can't really help them find it. And then sometimes they do like what I have in this picture, like they'll black out all the good stuff. Thinking, I don't want to give you the information. I want you to come up with a quote on your own. You're like, it's not really how it works, but they don't know that. There's always a challenge, right? It's just like, it's a scavenger hunt. Why do it? And then they send it to you, and then what do you have to do with it? And you gotta go type it all in somewhere else. How many times have you fat fingered a VIN number or address or whatever? Regardless, it's like, it's manual, it's time consuming, it's going to be error prone, and it sucks, right? Like, no one wants to do it. And so you get frustrated customers, frustrated agents, staff members, inaccurate information, you lose credibility. Our approach here with Canopy Connect, as a modern intake platform, you want to be fast, accurate, reliable, secure, and convenient. Not just for the client, but also for the agent. Like, we got to keep our team members happy, and not going through the drudgery of all this. And then here, this is the stuff that like Billy loves: operationalize, systemize, integrated into your systems, no data entry. That stuff's important as well, which doesn't happen as well when you're doing a lot of manual efforts. So.
Yeah. Well, it adds consistency. Processes add consistency.
It is, yeah. Right? So, I'm reading this book right now called "Addicted to the Process." That's our sales book club book of the week. We're meeting later this afternoon to talk about it. But yeah, how Canopy Connect works, I'll show it to you. But our first and foremost source of data is that we get it direct from the carrier. I mentioned this at the top. Your client signs in to their carrier and authorizes sharing all that information with you. So you send your link to your client signs in, you get to review all the policy, and then you can send that data to your other systems, right? No data entry, no nothing. And, we've got, it's all structured data, which is important. Really quick, connect to 300, we're actually like 399 carriers last I checked across personal and commercial lines. It's a ton of carriers, so it's a very long tail of people we don't have. We have
that's a big jump. That's a big jump from a few years ago when you guys are connected to like 20.
Yeah, we're at 95, about 95% coverage across all. Like, if you look at like the NAICS like market share, so 95% of the time our carrier is going to be there. Usually, the top end is just like, hey. Orlando, Farm Bureau, somewhere. But actually, we probably have all those. It's like these really regional carriers that pop up. And
well, once you got connected to Cincinnati and Westfield, I was like, okay, they're ready to play. They're ready to play.
Yeah. We talked about deck page. We're able to parse those deck pages super accurately. I'm not going to go over that again, but
can we go back a slide? Can we go back a slide? Because I'm telling you, what the biggest headache that I see out here is where on this slide right here, send link to the client. So that's something that we do through our AI, we do through our workflows, we do through our whatever. So we send the link to the client, but then we run into the client can't sign in. Can you touch a little bit more about that? Because that's a pain point for a lot of agencies, the client not being able to sign into their own portal. I'm progressive, but I don't know my progressive login. So that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So this is what our link looks like. It's this can be this part. My fake agency is called Uncommon Insurance Agency. You can name this URL whatever you want, text it to them, send it however you want to send it to them with your systems. They get to this page, just tells them it's secure and safe and private, and they're authorizing to share that information with your agency, right? So they hit continue. You said progressive, so we're going to go progressive. You find your carrier, but look, we've got a bajillion carriers down here, and if you still don't see it, you can search for it. You can upload your documents. Obviously, typically, if we put our like popular ones kind of in the first 15 or so of the scroll, but pretty straightforward. Find your carrier. If you know your credentials, you log in. If you don't know your credentials, you hit forgot password, and we're deep linking into Progressive's forgot password page. You can put in this information to reset your password and go back to your process. So that's what a lot of people do if they don't know their credentials. Again, if you've got your documents, we also just say like, or just upload it. Like let's remove the friction. If you've got it, we have the option. You can actually go in and create an account. Same thing. It's a deep link to your account. You do need to have some information. I don't always recommend doing that because you're just kind of giving Progressive, more hooks into retaining your client when you're trying to win them off. So, but make it easy to reset your password. That's pretty straightforward. I'm going to just go walk you guys through this process here. User good. These are just dummy credentials, but I'll show you. I'll hit submit, and I'll show you how quickly this stuff goes through. On average, we're looking at 5.6 seconds to connect to the carrier and start pulling that information. So in that time that I was like dismissing all my random password windows, it's already done, right? You hit continue. We have the option here to verify some of the information that was pulled in. So we go, okay, Clark Kent was the guy that was pulled in, date of birth, driver's license. Sometimes driver's license, depending on the carrier, may or may not come through. You can make these required or not required. I currently have it not required, but it does pull through. If it didn't pull through, they could upload it, or not upload it, enter it in here, hit continue. Oh, I got to add another driver. I got to add Lois Lane. You can add that here. You can just verify your vehicle information. Maybe they're coming to you and they're like, well, I've got this one, but I want to insure the other vehicle too. So they could look at this. Well, this one enters it, but you can, went back a step. You can add a vehicle by VIN number, or you can add it by year, make, and model and add it there, and it'll pull that in as well.
We also see a lot of times, guys, where the system will pull in 3 or 4 vehicles, and the person's like, well, I only want to insure one of them. It's like, okay, we need to have a conversation. So, yeah.
And then this module, we've got a whole bunch of like custom questions that you can ask and pre-built sort of question sheets that are pretty typical. This is just a fully custom question like, hey, when was your roof last built? Because I've set this up. You could set this up as like a specific date drop down. I find that to be sometimes a little bit cumbersome when they're like, oh, I got to figure out, March 1st, 1998. That takes a while. Like if you don't need that level of detail, you can, they can just type whatever, or they can be like, oh, I don't know. They can type something else.
This is really important, guys. If you're coastal, for my coastal agents, this is really a big thing. We got to have wind, hail. We got to have all kind of stuff, age of roof. So it's important. Now, will you allow us to build those questions out individually, or do we have to go to your developers and do that?
No, we have like a form builder option. So we've got a set of pre-built forms, pre-built kind of question library, and then you can just also create your own custom question sets, share that with your team so that everyone's asking consistently the same questions. Make them required, make them not required, make them numbers, dates, yes, nos, check boxes, everything you kind of expect with a form builder. You'd fill that in. Hey, you're all done. If maybe they have got their home with one and auto with another carrier, they can import another carrier. This just starts the process over again. And you had mentioned there's a site that you drive them to through your automations. You can send them directly to this link, which is on the usecanopy.com domain. You can embed it into your own website. So pretend this is your real website, and you can embed it in a few different ways. You can do it in kind of a modal like this. You can, we've got a few other options on how, you want to embed it.
Well, we send it several ways. We have it on our landing pages, but we also send it through text message. We send it through our email. If someone presses 1, they automatically, hey, if you'd like to get a quote with accurate information, press 1. They press 1, boom, they automatically get text and email the link to Canopy Connect.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's just any way you want to use it. This is the exact same link that I just showed you over here. It's just a different way of embedding it. And obviously when it's mobile, you just see this core part. So what data are we getting? I'm going to refresh this. This is Progressive 6 minutes ago. We'll click on this to view the submission. We go, okay, cool. Clark Kent got his mailing address. We got his email, got his info. We know what policies pulled in, auto, home, and an umbrella. Cool. Maybe I want to quote apples to apples. That gives me the data. You can pull down one of these options here and look at all their coverage limits, deductibles, breakdown of how the premiums are set up. If this pulled in from the carrier, it would fill in here. Again, this is
great. Now I'm sitting here with a notebook and I'm having to write down all this data again so that I can put it in my radar. God,
no, you don't need to do that. I'll get to that in a minute. Homeowner stuff, again, same thing. You got your whole structured data here. We go the extra step here and give you this enriched property data. I know a lot of agents that go and be like, oh, we got the address. Let me go look some stuff up in Zillow to go type this stuff in. We'll go pull it down for you. This all comes from a pretty reliable data source. And again, the home data is pretty consistent. Obviously, if they just redid their roof or they just added a bedroom. This is like what the county assessor typically will pull in.
Except, correct me if I'm wrong, your data updates every 30 days, though, correct? I believe that's what
I think it varies. So I don't want to say it's exactly 30 days, but it'll update about relatively frequently. I don't want to be like, well, 35 days, Ray said.
right.
But we pull in lien holders as well, which is important to know because they got to get listed on there. This is the driver information. I could have asked some additional questions here in that form flow. I didn't, but I could have asked some of the gender and education and occupation, that sort of stuff. We'll pull in driving records with that particular carrier, like what are the claims that came through with that carrier. And then here's those like custom questions. And again, you can ask as many custom questions as you want, but do have the caveat of like the longer your form, the more likely they ain't going to finish filling out that form. Right. But it's okay because we'll fill this in after the fact. Like, as soon as they hit that initial credential login, we already pulled all this information in, and then this will get updated. You started talking about like, oh, what do we do with the data?
Yeah, because I'm sitting there and now I got a notebook and I'm writing all this stuff down. Oh my God!
No, don't write anything down.
How do I get around that?
We've got a ton of integrations. This is my demo account, so I'm set up on all of them, or a bunch of them. But TurboRater, EasyLinks, PL Rating, your agency Zooms, your Hawksoft. You're using like the assembly forms. Any of these we're connected to. We've got a whole bunch. Also that I'll show you in a second. We also get deck pages, insurance cards, all that stuff. And we can go back like 7 years on these insurance documents if they're with the same carrier for that long. Integrations, again, these are the ones I have set up. These are some of the other ones that we have available.
So I can go right into TurboRater. So this information can flow right into TurboRater. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. We can set that up. There's how you just plug in your integration keys and some of these little user ID things. You can set it up to say like, hey, you can set up a whole bunch of different of those links. So each of your producers can have a different link. Each of your referral partners can have a different link. And you can set up like, hey, for this particular link, go to these places, use this TurboRater user ID, and so everything will be tracked in that way. Okay. All those links, I've got 57 links. That's like, it's a hot mess in here, but you can create ones for your real estate agent, for your loan officer, your referral partners. You talked about this earlier. That's one of the best data sources. If you make it super easy for them to send you some business, right? If by the time, instead of sending, this is what I've seen with like mortgage people, okay, is they'll send the client, hey, here's 3 insurance agents. One will usually be a captive, one will be an independent agent, another one will be like a buddy of his. Go follow up with any of these. Like it's not my call on who you want to choose as your insurance. Mm-hmm. What if they went the step further and said, here's the links, here's the one just to get started, click on that one, and they can just start sharing their information with you, right? So it's not this back and forth. They're not sitting there like having to do research. Like, hey, we just made it easy. Like that referral information already got there. They could do that in the office. They could do that however they want to do it.
Well, it also makes sense for you, because if you're one of the 3 that was recommended, but you're the first one to get back and say, look, here's a link. I can pull down your data. I can save you hours of work. Right now, these other agents are sitting out here asking you to do all this other stuff. I can make this super simple for you. You automatically gain more credibility because you made the process easier.
You're tech forward and you're not going back and forth on a bunch of emails. Like someone's buying a house and getting a loan. Like they got a lot of stuff to deal with. Yeah. Let's make this part easy. Right. So you can set up all your links. You can customize how they look, what your branding looks like. button color, your, what text kind of shows up in these different screens. At the very end, you can say, hey, I want to redirect you to somewhere else, back to my web page, or we're happy with that confetti screen that I showed. You can set all those things up. You can use these flows to say like, hey, what questions do we want to ask? At a bare minimum, like you can just be like, connect your credentials or upload your documents. Boom, done. Okay, you're done. Like I'll get the rest later. Or you can do what I did, which is like ask a few questions or confirm some information, because I prefer that maybe you verify some of that information. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to skip the login process and go just upload a deck page. Again, if you're buying a new house, it's not always that useful to know what their current old house was. Yeah, this is like, again, I don't recommend long forms, but like you can set this up to be like, okay, let's get your information up front. What kind of insurance information what kind of policies are you looking for? Now you can connect your carrier. You can not connect to your carrier. We can bypass that. You can verify all this information, verify your address, verify everything, right? This gets long, but you have the option, you have the flexibility to do all that stuff. So
now this is just unclear. So this information flows, let's say I'm using Hawksoft, okay, which I do. Let's say I want some of this information to flow into Hawksoft. How is that possible? Or do I have to manually put it all into Hawksoft?
Yeah, so with Hawksoft specifically, our integration is not as automated. So you'll generate a Hawksoft file. You'd have to download it and kind of drag it back into Hawksoft or upload it into Hawksoft.
Right, but
it is a manual intervention.
I don't have to do
You're not typing anything. You're going to hit this. It's going to download like
in the
Hawksoft file that makes no sense, and then you just drag it into Hawksoft, and it'll start the import process. Gotcha. With other raters like PL Rating and EasyLinks, you can set it up, and Turbo Rater I think as well. You can set it up so as soon as this submission comes in, it goes automatically into those systems, and you'll get an email that says you got a new lead. It was already sent to Hawksoft, or it was already sent to PL Rating, right? Okay. And so it'll be sitting in PL Rating in your queue or whatever, ready for you to rock and roll.
So on average, how long does the process take? So I'm dealing with a customer. I say, look, I'd love to get some accurate information. I know you probably don't have your deck pages. I can make that process really simple for you. I'll send you over the link. I'll stay on the phone with you till we get this knocked out. Till that, from the moment I have that conversation to the moment I have the data. About how long does that process take?
The marketing materials say 30 seconds. Realistically, 3 minutes if you're asking them to also do like kind of a few additional questions like I was asking, confirming the information. If you have them on the phone, you can set up a separate link that is just log in, get your information, and you're done. Because I can ask you the other questions, right? You can see that information in 10 seconds, right? As soon as they hit submit, 10 seconds, it's there. You'll see in my submissions section, there's like, you can sort it by whatever, but in progress means like we're currently pulling the data. And even while it's in progress, you can already see it. But usually the whole process, like the pulling it from the carrier is our average time is under 6 seconds. So, like you can do it on the phone. We have a lot of people that do it on the phone. Like, hey, so-and-so, let me get your information. I'm going to text you a link. Hey, did you get the link? Cool. Here's what you're going to do. Put me on speakerphone real quick. I'll walk you through this process. I can walk you through it because it's a uniform process. Log in here. Oh, you don't know your password. Go reset it. Okay, cool. Log in here. Pull that information. Does it say you're done? Yes? Cool. Let me go take a look at your information and you can go pull it up in real time.
Now, how do they give me access to it as the agent? How was I specifically the one that got access to it?
Yeah, well, because you're the one that sent them the link, right? Or your system, or whatever you're using. If you're initiating texting them that link.
So I have my own branded link that I'm using.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you saw I had like a million links set up. This one could say, this one's right, kind of generic to this company, but what we do with some of our links here, some of you guys know, we have this one. Eric at Arthur J. Gallagher uses Canopy Connect. So it can be Eric's link or Billy's link or whomever's link, so that they know. And that's why it's important for us, because it's important for like trust building, that they come here and they see your logo, or some people put their face right here, right? You put your headshot here and you got your logo up here, like, okay, I trust this place. I know who I'm sharing it with. And at the very end, it does say like you successfully shared your policy with XYZ agent.
So Ray, I'm not a techie guy though. You know what I mean? I just feel like, man, you've explained so much stuff, but I'll need a dang PhD in order to set this up. How hard is this?
No, we do drop-in onboarding sessions every day. You can drop in for half an hour and we'll help you get set up. We do one-on-one kind of onboarding as well if you're on one of our like mid-tier plans. So we make it really easy, but like it's self-explanatory, I think. Granted, okay, I'm a little bit more techie, I'll admit that, but like when you come in here, it's just you'll have a link that's already set up. So if you have a fresh instance, you come in here, you've already got a link set up, it kind of works in the default way, you can start sending that out immediately.
Gotcha.
We offer a 14-day free trial. We usually say within that 14 days, go test it out yourself, test it out with other people in your agency, just to like see how it works. Because that's kind of the key, is just like, hey, what did it pull? Was it accurate? Yeah, it's got all the information. Oh my gosh, like I didn't realize, I showed you the submission here and it had the umbrella. I bet you didn't ask for the umbrella, but they got an umbrella, so that changes everything, right?
Right.
Or a lot of times what happens is like, especially if it's like with a captive, you go, oh, your business account is also on here too. Guess what? I could do that. You didn't come to me for that, but I could do that.
Now, speaking of that, commercial, because, that's why a few years ago, I wasn't really interested in you guys, because I'm like, I'm a commercial agent, I'm not a personal one. So how have you guys grown on the commercial department?
Yeah. So on your more standard commercial, I call it like your Main Street commercial, if it's retailers and things like that, we can pull most of those carriers. It's more the custom MGA sort of managed stuff where they don't have a log, like they literally don't have a login. They just go to their agent for anything. Right. So that stuff's still a little bit more challenging.
E&L. Right? So all that ES or the E&L and all that stuff you probably don't. But if it's Progressive, if it's Hartford, if it's Travelers, if it's the standards, even if it's commercial, you still can pull it. Yep.
And I'll show you. This is commercial auto looks very similar to what I just showed you there. Business owner policies, and then we enrich all the data and give you the named insureds. Workers' comp, very similar thing. So we get the limits and things like that. We've got all the deck pages. Cool thing on commercial is, for a lot of carriers, we also pull in loss events. Right, this is not your official loss runs. This is going to give you a good context of like, hey, am I going to be able to write this or not? Am I going to bother writing it or not? And it allows you to also move forward without getting blocked out of markets, because a lot of times, sometimes you're waiting around another 2, 3, 4, 5 days when you go request loss runs, whether you're doing that directly or using another service, to to request loss runs, and you get the other incumbent agents like panicking because they're like, oh, my guy's shopping. And then they'll go drop, put all their information, all the raters and then block you out of the market.
And try to market block.
So this lets you kind of like, hey, let's get it started. And you can kind of almost block them out of the market. That's, yeah. And then you get all the deck pages, loss run summaries, things like that. So all that still works. We don't have a ton of like integrations on the commercial side. We do have one with Assembly, which basically can populate into a bunch of different.
But I think you guys, and I'm not, I mean, you would know more than I would, but I've been told that you're also going to be integrating with Simply Business here soon. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not, but it usually doesn't reach my desk until it's like 90% there.
Okay. Got it. So don't take Billy. Don't say, well, Billy said.
Billy's got insider information.
All right.
Cool. All right. But that's my jam.
Love it. Love it.
We've got some data enrichment options. I showed you the property data. We also have some lookup options within our platform, so you can kind of look up household information if you need to.
So I know you guys are, you're kind of geared toward the insurance industry, but I've also got some real estate friends that are saying that they're using some version of what you guys do as well, right? I mean, you're not just specifically insurance.
Yeah. So we have our hands in other industries. They are kind of insurance adjacent. It's the same sort of technology with different applications. So we work in the lending and mortgage space because we want to verify if you're going to refi, we can kind of streamline that verification process. Mm-hmm. We're moving pretty heavily in like auto dealerships, car rentals. Again, got to have your insurance, up to speed before you drive off your lot. Depends on different states have different rules, but so they can verify and just get a little check mark. Hey, they got. I was about to say full coverage. Shame on me. Right, but they got compensation and all that.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do then. I'm going to jump back over here. Thank you for that, Ray. I mean, that was
no problem.
Very accurate, very detailed. I appreciate it very much. Hold on one second here. I'm going to start this. Okay, so we talked about where Canopy Connect fits in the process, guys. That's what he just went over. So what does that mean? That was phase 4. So we're going to continue a little bit more about phase 4. So here's another problem. Now we've got this data, and that's awesome, and it's in our system, it's whatever, but we don't have anybody actually dedicated to doing anything with it. We don't have a quote specialist. We don't have AI that's doing anything. We just got a bunch of data. So I believe that the best agencies are using a hybrid model where they're using Canopy Connect to grab the data, but they also have a VA or a human that's making sure the data is where it needs to be. The quote specialist, they're reviewing it. They're researching additional data that Canopy Connect might not have been able to pull, and they're reaching out and contacting the customer or the contact to make sure that everything is good there. I believe that most agencies need a quote specialist, not just Susie and Bob and Dan who work in the office, but you need a person who is almost dedicated, almost a person who doesn't really talk to any of the rest of the agency. Their job is to quote and make sure that that stuff is done right. And the better, what you'll find is the more they do it, the faster they get, the more quotes they're knocking out. Now all of a sudden you got an agency that used to get out 5 quotes a day, getting out 20 quotes a day because someone's dedicated to it. Okay, that's a quote specialist. Of course, AI can always work in that as well. We use a lot of AI tools, mainly to talk to people and to research. AI basically has three levels, if you think about AI, or 3 things it does. There's a brain, right? There is a memory, and there are arms and legs. So what does that mean? The brain is like the LLM. The LLM is where you write your prompts. That's where you do all that stuff. That's what Ray does. He writes the prompts and gets all that stuff functioning, all that good stuff. But then there's the memory. And that's what really adds the power. That's why when you go to ChatGPT, it can sound like you. It can talk like you. It can write an email the way that you would write an email. It would do all those things because it has a memory that's part of that process. And now we're telling it to go out and do this. Compare these two deck pages, go out and pull this data, go out and research this, go out and do that. Those are the arms and legs. So if we think about that and we look at our processes, when do we need the brain? Meaning, when do I actually need to write the prompt to make sure that the conversation is happening and all that? When do I need the memory, which is, will it remember that it did these tasks a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago? And what are the arms and legs? That's the real power of AI. That's the power of your workflow. That's the power of your this. And I'm saying AI, but let's simplify it. Let's just say CRM. So if you're using Agency Zoom, Insured Mind, Easy Links, you're using any of these other tools that are out there, you still need to have the vision for what you want them to do. You need to know the automated pieces that you want to have happen, and you need to have the trigger, which is when this happens, do this. That's the workflow. But if you keep workflow simple, it's doing a specific task at a specific time on a specific interval in a specific way. That's what a workflow is. And so Canopy Connect should be a part of your workflow. So for us, if you are dealing with one of our workflows and maybe we sent you an email, maybe we sent you a text, maybe we sent you whatever, guess what we have? We have a link to our Radar, to Canopy Connect, to our appointment calendar, to whatever it is that you use. So that's how you're using. People think AI is like, oh my God, it's magical. It's really not. It's a matter of taking that process and turning it into something that's easy to do. All right. We're on phase 5. We're almost done. We have 6 phases. And I know we're running over. Phase 5, the automated follow-up. This is powerful. This is why you have a bottleneck in your quoting a lot of times, because there's no automated follow-up. There's no automated phone call, no automated email, no text, no voicemail. You're not sending out a video. So you want to make it easy. If you can drive people to an online an online form, an online funnel, if you can drive them to AI, you can just send them out an email, send them out a text message with links that click this link to go here. That's going to work for you a whole lot better. But you need to build some type of automation into your follow-up. And if you're looking for AI functionality, there's a lot of AI functionality you can use. You can use the AI receptionist, where the person's actually talking to the receptionist and they're gathering information. You can do press 1. We actually have our setup where we'll drop a voicemail. And even in the voicemail, we'll say, while you're listening to this voicemail, if you'll hit press 1, we will send you over a link. We do that with our text messaging. We do with all that. Okay. Now, of course, that's the Data Supercenter. That's our AI CRM that we built on top of the Go High Level platform. And we personalized it for what we want insurance agencies and other businesses to do. And if you ever want to see a demo of that, you don't have to schedule an appointment or schedule an hour or do whatever. Just go to datasupercenter.com. Okay, go to datasupercenter.com, and right at the very top, it's going to say demo. All you do is click that demo. It's going to ask you some questions. Tell me about your business. Tell me your email address. Tell me your hours. Tell me this. And then it's going to say, okay, now I will act as though I were your AI receptionist. So guys, again, you don't need to book an appointment. You don't need to book a demo. You don't need to block off an hour. It takes 60 seconds. Go to datasupercenter.com, datasupercenter.com, go up to the top, click the demo, and let the AI receptionist act as though it was answering the phones or processing information for your business. There's no charge. This is the power of AI. Okay. All right. Ray, I'm going to let these folks get back to work. Give me a summary statement to kind of end everything for Canopy Connect. Give me a summary statement.
You got it, man. Let's just take a lot of the friction out of your intake process. Make it easy. Make it systemized, operationalized. Put it into your process. It's super easy. Go to usecanopy.com for more information. There's pricing. You can book a demo from there, and just let them know that Billy and Ray sent you, and you'll get taken care of.
Sounds good. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. I want to remind you guys again that every first and third Wednesday of the month, I talk about CRMs, AI, technology. On the second and fourth Wednesday, I talk about insurance, insurance processes. So what's the big takeaway from insurance today? 1, you need to get better at gathering data. 2, you need a dedicated quote specialist in your agency, someone who really can personalize and maximize your specialty. And number 3, stop quoting people who are not interested in a real quote. Okay? Pre-qualify people. Don't just, oh my God, at least they answered the phone. No, ask those qualifying questions, okay? And see if they're even worth your time. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Ray, thank you so much for being here. I absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.